Hey, Marty. Marty, where did you put the focus?
Yeah, it's on the black bag, man.
You got 15 black bags. Which one?
The one on the left, man, on the left.
Yep. Yeah, found it. All right, thanks.
Seeking Focus, episode 23.
Welcome to Seeking Focus, a podcast that provides photographers and videographers with a place to critically compare technology, share ideas, and enhance their skills.
Yeah, Marty, how's it going?
Mate, back again.
Yeah, and you've been pretty damn busy.
I'm busy, loving it.
I was bragging about my trip to Canberra.
Canberra, that's
like,
right. Last episode, yes.
I went to Canberra.
How exciting was it?
It was very exciting, but by comparison to your trip,
Mate.
it was dismal.
Mate.
Where did you go?
I went to Antarctica.
And, well, where's that?
Antarctica is the bottom of the earth, man. Like underneath, like really, like the last thing on the bottom.
Underneath the black bag?
Yeah, the seeking one. Are you seeking for it?
I'm still seeking it. So you went to Antarctica. That's like a dream come true for most people. Like that is a dream location. Did you go there for work, pleasure?
Bit of both.
Bit of both. So you took your cameras.
Yeah, I do. Of course you take cameras, mate. You can't go to a place like that without a camera, man. Seriously,
It's
bro.
like, it's definitely true. Definitely true. So you went up there. How long were you gone?
So in Antarctica itself, close to 2 weeks. So it was about 12 days. Yes, 12 days.
12 days. And the one thing that really spun me out about this trip was I messaged you and I said, send me photos of polar bears. And you responded by saying, there are no polar bears.
Yeah, it's funny because actually a lot of people actually say that to me. Have you seen any polar bears? And the truth is, only polar bears are up north. So Norway, Finland, and those sort of, up really Arctic circle up north. But down south, there's no land predators as such for the penguins. So the penguins actually, they don't have any land predators, so they're not scared of anything.
So they rule the roost.
Yeah, well, I think the only closest thing that as a predator they've got the leopard seal, I think it is. And that's the only sort of predator that they sort of fear. But other than that, nothing apparently.
That's bizarre. But all right, okay, so what made you go there of all places? I mean, other people would go, I'm going to go to Hawaii in some tropical land or something like that. What made you choose one of the coldest places on the earth?
Yeah, look, I guess that's the episode that we're going to do today. It's my trip to Antarctica. But so I think for last probably about 2 years, when as soon as sort of Melbourne's been down with COVID and everything else, basically I figured that I need to be able to do something different, right? And what better place to go to something different than Antarctica, And I think it's just one of those places where I feel like everyone needs to see, like you need to go up north to the Arctic Circle and then down south to the Arctic Circle, because those places are just so far from humanity itself that, it's just something that you must be seen once in your lifetime. That's the way I look at it, you know what I mean? So it's bucket list.
Okay,
Simple answer.
I mean, the only other place that's further away than where you went was the moon.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah,
I don't think there's anything further away. That is amazing. So so you decided there was your bucket list sort of thing, and I mean, first of all, how do you actually get there? I mean, you don't get on an aeroplane and go to Qantas and go, hey, I just want to go to the Antarctica.
You can. So there's a number of different things. So so from, obviously we're in Australia, Melbourne. Now you can catch a boat. Well, probably not the easiest thing, but you can actually sail from Melbourne or from Australia to Antarctica. Saying that, though, it will take about 2 to 3 weeks to actually get there. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like that far, but it's actually bloody far. You know what I mean? The best way, basically what we did was, so we flew from Melbourne to New Zealand to Santiago in Chile, and then Chile to Argentina, to Buenos Aires, and then from Buenos Aires in Argentina to Ushuaia in Argentina, which is down south. That's like one of the largest cities in down south, like the bottom of the earth potentially. in the mainland Earth. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So we there was obviously close to 30 hours of flight time, and so we stopped in Buenos Aires for about 3 days, and just to sort of acclimatize with time and everything else, and then caught another flight to Ushuaia down south. Now, to get to Buenos Aires to Ushuaia is about 6 hour flight time. And then Ushuaia that's when everyone sort of, starts from. And the reason why is it's the shortest passage from the mainland of the world to Antarctica.
See, this is where I didn't understand this initially when you told me where you were going. I was like, well, wasn't it just easier to go to Tasmania and then get a rowboat all the way down? It just seemed more logical to me, but obviously not.
Yeah. No, it's so still from South America, from Ushuaia. If you look at the map, Ushuaia is sort of the largest sort of city there. It still takes 3 days on the boat to get to Antarctica or Antarctic Peninsula. Right now, the Antarctic Peninsula is it's the closest part to it. So, and that's when most of the islands are. So that's when most of the cruises go to. Now, the boat that I actually went on was called Magellan Explorer. Magellan Explorer is a very small boat. So in Antarctica, basically, you can't have more than 100 people out on land at once. So Magellan Explorer...
Is there a reason for that? Or?
Yeah, so they've got the governing body of Antarctica. They basically say to save the earth, save the environment, to make sure the humans don't actually have a huge footprint on the wildlife, on the on the land itself. They're keeping the actual people down to the bottom of sort of less than 100 people at once on land.
What they're trying to do is they're not trying to take that area and convert it into Mount Everest where there's plastic everywhere.
Yeah. So it was very tranquil and very very clean. I mean, the water is just fantastic, and the boat that I'm probably jumping the gun here, but yes, Antarctica has no government, but it is basically governed by a binding legal agreement, and the agreement is ACTM, which stands for Antarctic Treaty Consultative Meeting. And basically this has a number of different countries consulting each other so what the rules and regulations are for Antarctica to be able to save the land and the animals and everything else.
How did you get there? So on a boat?
Yes, so on the boat. So the boat was Magellan Explorer, like I mentioned. Magellan is a very new boat, so it's only been built in 2019. Now, it was a bit of a risk, I guess, for me, just for the fact that there was no reviews on that boat, saying that they sort of, they upsold it quite nicely and everything else. And the boat itself had 92 passengers and close to 70 crew. That's fine, just move it.
Sorry, I'm just sitting there moving maps around.
So it's 92 passengers and 70 crew itself. Now the crew...
Did you say 70 crew?
70 crew, yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of crew.
So there was probably about close to 15 expedition leaders. So now expedition leaders are the people that basically talk about glaciers, wildlife, seals, penguins. You got a expert for different scenario. So you had experts for whales. They talked about whales. That they had experts for talk about the Antarctic history.
So there was whales where you were?
Yes, every day.
That's not the thing that I would have popped into mind straight away when I'm thinking about the Antarctica. It's like, for me, I think penguins, seals, that sort of thing, but I wouldn't think whales. But something.
So the funny thing is about Antarctica. So the Antarctic season is from approximately November till about late March. Okay, now earlier you go in the season, you'll get to see a lot more penguins, for instance. So if you go December, then you will see a lot more penguins, chicks, hatchings, and other things up to probably about January, late January, Feb. Now, I went in March, and that's very much a whaling season. So you see a lot more whales. We were hoping to see killer whales, but we didn't. But the orcas. And so there's different times of the year. So warmer is around sort of Christmas-ish, and then it starts getting cold again late March. So there is different seasons, and you see different types of animals while you're sort of there. So the animals that we saw were mainly was the penguins, the chin-strap penguins and Gentoo penguins. Now also a lot of whales, so minke whales, I think it is. I can't remember the name of them now. But there is milky whales and a few other sort of species of whales. And also a lot of seals. So crab-eater seals, like what I mentioned before, leopard seals, and then the brown seals as well.
I was sadly disappointed you didn't bring me back one in your suitcase, but
I was trying to bring some ice.
No, I did actually ask for if you could bring me back some ice. Okay, so you went with a boat. 3 days, was it?
Yeah, so 3 days to get there.
Okay. What was the sea like? I mean, because personally, I've had some experiences in boats, and it's never been favourable. It's always been horrific. So, the idea of going on a boat in the open ocean scares the living crap out of me. I had a really, really bad experience about 30 years ago. So what was the water like? Was it still calm? Was it...
Yeah, so okay.
It wasn't like going from Melbourne to Tasmania where you've got the Bass Strait and the boats being thrown around everywhere, is it?
No, well, it's actually quite worse than that. Well, okay, so basically you're going through the Drake Passage. Drake Passage is probably one of the roughest seas in the world. So the reason why is because it meets two oceans. Now the two oceans are South Pacific Ocean and the South Atlantic Ocean. Now, because of the currents and everything else, the whole body of water in that area, it sort of collides together and it creates a lot of waves, a lot of rough seas, depending on the winds and other things. Look, saying that though, on the way there, we've only experienced about 2 to 2.5 meter waves. So on a big boat, you can't really feel that. You know what I mean? You still take your seasickness tablets. A lot of people actually had patches. So you put a patch behind your ear, and then that will release slowly the medicine. I don't know what's it called, but
just put it next to your nicotine patch. So nicotine patch,
something similar, correct? Yeah, but you put that on, and you don't need to take any pills, so that will slowly release, and that will last for about 3 days as well. So you put that on at the beginning, and then it takes a couple of hours to work, and then you're fine. You don't need to worry about it. Also, you can get, like, if you're really bad, you can get an injection as well. So the injection, the doctor on board itself, they actually say, all right, cool, we can give you an injection. And then that starts working straight away because it's obviously in liquid form, and then it starts working. I only took tablets. So I took one in the morning, one during lunch, and one at night. So 3 tablets a day. And I wasn't sick at all. So it was fine. So 2.5 meter waves, nothing. Saying that though, on the way back, we've actually experienced about 8 meter waves. So those 8 meter waves, you'd start feeling it. Saying that though, look, I wasn't sick. I know there was a few people sick on the boat itself, but it wasn't that bad. But yes, you definitely feel it. Like if you're sleeping in 2-3 o'clock in the morning, you fall off the bed, and because the waves are so huge and throwing everything around. There was in the main room where they do all the lectures and talks and everything else, there was tables and chairs were smashed. You know what I mean? Because everything was just up and then straight back down. The front of the boat, for instance, had like windows, viewing windows. They were bolted with steel bars. You know what I mean? Or steel metal plates. You know what I mean? Because there was such a huge amount of water coming through from the 8 meter waves, where they just basically boom, they can smash the windows. You know what I mean? So yes, there was on the way back we experienced that for about a day and a half, I'd say, and that was fun. But yeah, it was
something different. I was just visualizing, when I'm sitting on a plane and they don't bring me my peanuts or something like that, and I get very upset. Sitting on a boat for any amount of time scares the crap out of me.
So
8 meter waves would be I'd be like screaming, "Mommy!"
Yeah.
Mommy.
So it was a very educational trip. You know what I mean? So at the beginning, I've sort of thought to myself, all right, I got to bring my laptop. I got to do all these different edits and changes and whatever else, because I'm going to be sitting on my ass doing nothing for 3 days while getting to Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the other way around. You're so busy because in the morning you get up, you get breakfast, then you get lectures about whales for like 2 hours, 3 hours. Then you have lunch. Then after lunch, they do lectures about history of Antarctica. Next day, exactly the same thing. And then after lunch, you get afternoon drinks and then dinner and then recap for the day, for instance. You know what I mean? And they talk about sailors in the olden days. They talk about the history of Antarctica. They talk about different types of animals. So that goes for every single day, virtually. You know what I mean? So you learn so much, and you don't have time to sit on your laptop to edit photos or whatever else. You know what I mean? So you actually learn so much about Antarctica.
That's on the way, obviously, there, but on the way back, did they also do that on the way back?
Correct. Or? Yeah. So on the way back, what happened was they recap the trip. So every day, so we would, so from memory, we went to Smith Island, then we went to Deception Island, then we went to all different places, and they recap on the way back to say, hey, all right, cool, we were there, this is what we saw, this is what we experienced, and they just give us history on it. So
I'm sorry, my suspicious nature is kicking in here. It sounds to me like they were trying to keep you occupied. It wasn't something, you should know about this. It's just, let's keep them occupied so they don't notice the 8 meter long waves outside.
Yeah.
Do you feel that, they were trying to keep you occupied, or was it just part of the whole package?
Oh, it's part of the whole package, because like I said, you've got 70 crew and that 15 expedition leaders, they were experts in certain different areas, and they try to give you that information. So out of, then you had your hotel staff, so your people that make up your rooms and whatever else. And then you had your crew that actually navigates the boat. Then you had your crew for, waiters and other sort of maintenance people and other things as well. So, yes, they do sort of try to keep you occupied as much as possible, and they give you as much information as possible as well. So, look, overall, it was a very educational trip. Very much a, I guess, opening your eye trip. You know what I mean?
Right,
how much
it's very different.
Environmental sort of impact there is on Antarctica, for instance. You know what I mean? Things like that. So one of the examples that they gave us, whaling, for instance. Like a lot of whaling has stopped, saying that there's still two countries that still do a fair bit of whaling, which is Norway and Japan. Now they do whale for krill oil and for oils and sort of obviously meat and everything else. But yeah, they were giving us a lot of information to say, why should we stop whaling? You know what I mean? Because whales actually contribute a lot to stopping global warming, for instance. Believe it or not, they actually, the oceans do suck a fair bit of carbon dioxide and then produce a fair bit of oxygen. You know what I mean? Very similar to the Amazon jungle, for instance. You know what I mean? Amazon jungle has only got like 15-20% or whatever it is. But yeah, it's educational trip. So
well, okay. So there was 3 days there, 3 days back. So it's 6 days of travel.
Yep.
How long were you actually at the Antarctic itself?
Yeah, so we were there just over 5 days. So every day, what actually happened was we sailed through the night. And then every single day we got to a different location. So in the morning we will get to, say, an island, and then that will be a morning expedition. So I've booked extra kayaking as well. So I would jump on the kayaks, have a wander around that specific location, see the whales, see the penguins, see the seals, and have a bit of a hike maybe to a mountain to see the top of the view. Then the same day, then we would move on to another location in a similar vicinity and basically do the same. You know what I mean? Look, every location is totally different though. So if you people thinking, this is one location and it's all the same thing. Yes, but no. you get a lot more wildlife in one location to the other location, for instance, and landscapes and everything else. So it's just totally different. So every day we will get to 2 different locations. You could do hiking, you could do kayaking, and then obviously explore the area as well. So there's mainland landings, and then there's island landings as well.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Makes a lot of sense. But, okay, this is a podcast about photography and videography. So let's get to the important bits.
Yes.
Right? What gear did you take with you on your trip?
Yes. Okay. So for the 5-6 days that I was there on Antarctica itself. So I took one camera with me. So my Sony A7 IV.
Mm-hmm. Were you using it for photos or for video?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Both. So A7 IV, and it's great for both. So it's obviously got high megapixel sort of rate. So you could, zoom in photos, and it's got 32 megapixels, which is great. So camera wise, then lenses. So I took my 24 to 70 2.8. I took my 70 to 200 2.8, and I took a 2x extender. So potentially I had a 400mm zoom at the most.
Okay. Did you use all of that gear, or did you only...
No, I did. So, So from a photography point of view, lens-wise, that's basically what I took. I also took a tripod with me as well, which is funny thing is because I haven't actually used the tripod at all. I haven't even set it up once. And then I took 2 GoPros and a DJI Pocket 2 camera as well, which is the little one on the gimbal if you don't know where it is.
All right. So you took a shitload of... sorry, I shouldn't say that word. You took a lot of gear with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so would you say in hindsight there was anything there that you should have left behind? And was there anything that you wish you had taken with you?
So the gear that I probably left behind would be tripod. Is the funny thing is you don't really have a lot of time to, because you want to see as much as possible. You kind of go, yes, it's a good idea to bring it, but I didn't actually get to use it. So it's not like you're doing long exposures.
I mean, you probably couldn't really do long exposures on a boat anyway. So
well, that's number one, yeah. So the boat wasn't a good idea. When you're on land, you kind of want to see as much as possible. You know what I mean? So even if you sort of set up a long exposure, like it takes, half an hour to an hour to sort of, start playing around with it and whatever else. But the weather-wise, we only had like really 2 sunny days. And the funny thing is about the sunny day, like I took the camera with me, or for, with the tripod for time lapse, for instance, which you kind of, there's no clouds, then nothing's happening. You know what I mean? There's too much cloud. There's nothing happening in the time lapse anyway. You know what I mean?
Unless you get a parade of penguins flying past.
Flying. Yeah. But look, it's the GoPros were mainly for the kayak, and then I used the GoPros to do a lot of time lapses on their own as well. The DJI Pocket 2, that was great, just to do like a tour of the boat, but yeah, I haven't really used that too much as well. Other gear.
Would you say that you could have used the GoPro in the place of the DJI?
Yeah, definitely.
So that you could have left that at home, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, I borrowed one of your ND filters as well, which I haven't actually used.
Well, this is... I know you came back and you said, here you go, take your crappy filter back because I don't want it.
Yeah, I didn't say that back.
Well, we know that you hate filters. But the question I have for you is, everything's white. Everything in there is white. You had sunny days, right? Yeah. Which is even more white. You're probably wearing sunglasses, I'm presuming.
Yeah, a lot, yeah.
But you weren't using a ND filter on your camera. Why?
I haven't done a lot of, so for some reason this trip was, initially when I was going there, it was supposed to be for both video and photography, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I actually got there, the video component didn't really struck me. I don't know why, but I was mainly focusing on photography, and I had heaps of fantastic images from penguins to seals and whales and whatever else. But saying that though, video component I wasn't shooting a lot of video, and I think the ND filter is a lot more valuable for video production than actual photography, you know what I mean? Because even on a sunny day, even if I was shooting at 2.8, I just crank the shutter speed to, 8,000ths of a second, you know what I mean? At 50 ISO, you get away with, on the sunny day with still good exposure without any ND filters. Do you know what I mean?
All right. So, okay, you were out, there's water everywhere, there's reflection everywhere. Did you take a CP filter with you?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did
Never
you use
used it? No.
So did you not get glare and stuff? I mean,
No,
everyone swears by them.
Yeah, for some reason I didn't. It was just, I was always having my hood on the both lenses, so I always put a hood on them
to stop the lens flare.
Yeah. I think it's a nice thing to have, but I didn't really find that was actually quite necessary, to be honest with you.
And look, I've seen a couple of your photos, not all of them. Unfortunately, you haven't really released many of them.
No.
But the ones that I have seen have been sensational. So I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of them, which one day you might release. One day.
Yeah.
One day. That's a subtle hint. One day, release. But that sounds pretty amazing. Was there anything that you wish you had taken with you?
My drone.
Were you allowed to use a drone up there?
No.
Okay, sorry. There was no pointless taking that one.
So the droning component in Antarctica is actually quite strict as well, because they're scared that obviously if you don't know what you're doing, you might crash the drone into a whale or penguin or whatever else, or if it does crash, obviously you got lithium batteries and lithium polymer batteries, and so that all can leak obviously chemicals into pristine waters of Antarctica.
And there was actually, sorry, I'm just breaking away from Antarctica to a different place. There was a video circulating of an alligator that sprung out of the water and captured a drone and swallowed it.
You can see smoke everywhere because he pierced the battery.
Yeah, you can imagine what happened to that alligator. Afterwards they probably would have found it dead. But so it's understandable why they wouldn't want that. Especially look, there's a lot of people out there with drones who don't know what they're doing. Yeah, there's a lot of professionals, but unfortunately, everyone thinks they're a professional.
That's right. Look, with I think to be able to fly in Antarctica, and you do have to have very good experience. You know what I mean? We did have 2 really good days with the 0 wind, and it was just brilliant to be able to fly there. Saying that though, most of the time there was the weather wasn't the best for flying. You know what I mean? And to be able to get something sufficient, you probably need to you could probably bring like a little drone, like sub 250, which is okay, but you do need a really good day for that. Anything else, minimum probably Mavic 3, which is sort of around sort of 1 kilo mark, which is sort of it can handle high winds, and then it can handle a lot more other things. So that's probably one of the drones that probably was favorable to bring. But it's a hard one because you do need a fair bit of paperwork to be able to do. It costs a lot more money to be able to fly a drone.
What are we talking about money-wise, and how much paperwork?
From what I know, you need to apply for CASA, and I don't understand why, but CASA needs to be able to authorize you flying in Antarctica, although it's totally out of this a bit,
Well, it might be, past experience. Like it has a record saying that, you're known to be a good pilot. You've got experience. You've got all the requirements. So maybe they're doing it on your behalf. So maybe they're just putting their
look, I know there is a fair bit of money involved as well, so you have to pay for all the fees and everything else, and then it does depend on the tour operator as well. If they allow you to do it or not. Look, I have looked into a little bit, and I just saw a lot of red flags, and I was just like, you know what, it's just not worth it. I'm just going to climb to the top of the boat and take a couple of photos from there, and that's it.
That's fair enough. Yeah. Did you get to do that?
I did. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, a lot of every location that we went to was icebergs, and every morning that you sort of open up the curtains to look out the window, and it's just totally different environment. You know what I mean? You got glaciers in one location falling off to the water, and you got other locations just icebergs washing up, and then another day you open up and you can see a whale tail coming out of the water, and you go, my God, where am I? You know what I mean? Totally different.
All right, so would you say it's a must-do location, or is it more? So you would say for a photographer or a videographer, at some stage in your life, you need to do this.
Yeah, I look, I think for even if you're not a photographer or videographer, I think it's a must-see location. Just like the Northern Lights, for instance, you know what I mean? I think everyone needs to see Northern Lights, and Antarctica is one of the seventh continent. It's the seventh continent that I think everyone needs to see. It's just the education behind the trip itself, that you learn about different things and environmental, and it's just everything. It's just it's hard. It's such a hard thing to explain, but yes, definitely must see location. And I mean, look, people say prone to seasickness and this and that. Yes, but just take a pill and you'll be fine. You know what I mean? If you want to go on a bigger boat, you can go on a 200 or 300 people boat, and then you might not be able to step foot on the land for 2 to 3 days, but you still do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know people that have been on the 500 people boat and they just sailed in it, around it, and they just basically left without setting foot on the actual land itself. But they've seen it.
If you're going to go all that way and spend all that money,
correct.
I mean, it's one of those things where you need to sort of put your foot on there and say, I've been there, and then have the opportunity to drop your plastics on the ground and leave a whole bunch of bottles everywhere. But was there? I'm joking about that. You don't do that. No. But was there any pollution there? Like, I mean, Everest, for example. If you're at the top of Everest, it looks like a tip. There's plastic bottles everywhere. There's rubbish everywhere. Did you see anything there while you were there? I'm presuming you would have seen something in the water, because the ocean's huge and things fly around.
The funny thing is, no.
You didn't. So it hasn't been touched up that way?
No. So before going to the trip itself, the tour operator, so we went with Antarctica 21. It's a US-based Chilean kind of operator. And they actually send you a lot of information to say, hey, when you're there, not allowed to do this, not allowed to do that. You know what I mean? Every landing that we did, so they provide you with gumboots, for instance, right? They're very good quality gumboots, for instance. But every trip that you go to, you sterilize your boots. So you go through this solution, you step into this solution, you sterilize your boots, you get off the boat. Then every time you come back, you go exactly through the same process. So you're not going to bring any diseases to the actual to islands where the penguins' colonies are. And to a point where if you want to bring a tripod, for instance, or anything else, so they basically make you sterilize that as well.
Yeah.
They encourage you not to even sit down, because obviously,
It's actually interesting you should say that, because I've done a lot of wildlife work myself, but in enclosures. So, places where, you see seals, or you see, the penguins up close, like you can literally touch their faces. And they are very cheeky animals. I've been attacked by a couple of them. They did it for fun. They were biting my butt while I was trying to take a photo. But when we were trying to get into the enclosures, exactly the same thing. We had to clean our camera gear. We had to step into the mat. We had to do the chemicals to make sure we weren't taking anything in there. So that would suggest to me that possibly they're very susceptible to a lot of the diseases.
Yeah. Like I said, they don't actually have any land predators. Penguins, for instance, and they would come up to you saying, hey, what are you doing? They'll start walking, and
they are very curious.
They're very curious, and they're probably not the smartest thing out, because they start walking, and they start walking, and they make a direction into one way, and then they get distracted by something else, and then they walk somewhere else,
But it's not like they don't have anywhere to go. So
that's right.
It's not like they've got an appointment at 4 o'clock.
Look, yes, they are very fragile. So the environment-wise, like if people start bringing in, like just rubbish or whatever else, the environment itself, it can cause a lot of damage on the wildlife. You know what I mean? So look, hopefully I answered your question there.
You did, you did. Okay. The big pressing question, which I think everyone out there will probably be asking, it's the reality behind it is it's not a typical trip to the Bahamas or Bali or Singapore. It's a lot more expensive.
Yeah,
it takes a lot more planning, and you got to be really dedicated to do that type of trip. Most people would want to go somewhere sunny and somewhere warm,
that's right.
So they can get drunk and walk around in their bikinis or bathers. So it's one of those things where you need to really be dedicated to go there. And I think one of the biggest factors, and one of the reasons that at this stage I wasn't able to join you, other than time factor as well was another factor, but predominantly when I heard the price tag, I almost choked on my tongue. It is extremely expensive. Are we allowed to say how much it costs you?
Well, yeah, more or less. It is very expensive. And you know what the funny thing is, after COVID, I think the flights were astronomical from where it is.
Everything after COVID's gone through the roof.
Yeah, from Melbourne to get to South America, normally, I mean, look, I've been to Patagonia 3 years ago, and I think I've paid $1,700 probably all up, and that was basically like flying all the way to Patagonia and back to Melbourne, and this time around was over $4,500 just in flights, Australian. You know what I mean? So almost $5,000 in flights compared to 2-3 years ago was less than half that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's trip, just the flights. I mean, you've also had to travel. Is that all
accommodate? No, so that's all the flights.
Okay, how about the boat? Yeah,
so the boat itself. So like I mentioned, so the boat itself we went was Magellan Explorer. Now the Magellan Explorer, I sort of want to give you a bit of a background there before I actually tell you the price. Magellan Explorer is...
That's the lead up, so we won't choke on our tongues. Yes.
Well, there is a lot of older boats there. But Magellan Explorer is actually one of the newer boats that have actually been built. So it's only been built in 2019. And they were supposed to do their first maiden voyage to Antarctica because Magellan Explorer only operates in Arctic waters. So the first voyage to Antarctica was supposed to be 2020, right? Now, because of COVID, that never happened. So that boat was basically grounded for almost 2 years. You know what I mean? So this time around in 2023 was the sort of the first, 2022, 2023 was the first, I guess, expeditions to Antarctica with that boat. So I think the prices were quite low from my perspective. So I've paid just over $1,000 a night. So that was 12 nights. So Australian was, I think it was around $15,000 itself for the boat. Saying that though, you've got meals all included, alcohol all included, all your equipment all included. Kayaking was extra on top, so that was extra $1,500 on top for kayaking. But then you got clothes, like boots and like hiking poles and other things. That's all included as well. And you're virtually in a hotel for the whole 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So you get room service, you get, the meals are amazing. You know what I mean? Last night on the boat, we actually had lobster. You know what I mean?
I thought you were going to say we had whale, but...
No, but lobster, you know what I mean? So it was fantastic from that perspective, But look, I agree. It's just almost like a trip of a lifetime. You probably, number one, you can't afford to go, every year. And number two, you kind of go, all right, cool, I've been there, I've seen it, and it's really good.
Okay, so overall, for the whole trip, what price are we looking at, including accommodation, everything? Just ballpark.
All up was close to $25,000.
$25,000. And how many weeks was that for?
I went for close to 4 weeks.
4 weeks, okay. Yeah. So I'm just comparing it to our last trip to India and Nepal.
It wasn't cheap compared to that.
Yeah, like I think was 7 weeks there, and we paid like $4,500 to $5,000 all up. That was including flights and everything. So it is astronomically expensive, but it is worth it. You're saying?
Oh, mate, I think it's definitely worth it. And the people that have been there, look, I've worked all the way through COVID, so I've saved a bit of money. And that was my sort of reward for being at home for 2 years lockdown. You know what I mean? And I've been organising this trip like a year and a half in advance. You know what I mean? So you kind of, you save a bit of money, and then you got to pay the deposits and everything else. But if anyone's thinking of going to Antarctica, just do it.
I have to ask. This is something that I forgot to ask you earlier on, and when you were over there, it was actually in the back of my mind. You used your GoPros. You took your GoPros with you for canoeing. Did you at any stage get the GoPro and sink it into the water underneath the canoe?
I did. I just...
Could you see anything?
Well, yeah, the water's clear, but I sort of want to see the icebergs underneath, you know what I mean? So the smaller sort of ice...
Were you able to see those? Or?
Yeah. So I might stick a couple of photos on Insta if you guys want to have a look. But,
I definitely want to see what's under there.
Yeah, so. Look, it's not much there, to be honest with you. It's just an iceberg floating.
I've just got this visualization. You're looking back at the footage from the GoPro, and suddenly you notice these beady eyes in the darkness looking at you, and you're like, what the hell's that?
Never got that.
No, you didn't get that? There's like some weird monster under there?
No. But yeah, look, it's underneath the water is very pristine, you know what I mean? So it's very clear, very crisp. I've managed to actually just jump in there as well, which is great. You know what I mean?
Jumped into the water?
Yeah, so we did an Arctic dip. Arctic, so the water was -1-2 degrees.
So did you actually intentionally do this, or did they just push you into that?
No, you intentionally do it. So on the boat, there is obviously an option to be able to do an Arctic dip, and they strap you up just in case you do have some sort of, convulsion, whatever else.
Have a heart attack.
And you basically jump in, and you kind of, your body almost goes through this massive shock, but you feel so good afterwards. You know what I mean? When you jump out, you kind of go, "Wow, let's do it again."
Wow, yeah, no, I think I'll just watch you do it, and I'll go, "Wow, that was awesome." It's not something that I would personally do, but I mean, I'd like to push your Sony camera into the water and see what happens.
No, look, I think overall is an experience of a lifetime. So if you can afford it, and you're not scared of being on the open ocean, they call it Drake shake sometimes, because it shakes you so much that you kind of go, what the hell am I doing here? But if you're not scared of that, it's definitely worth it. It's definitely something to see. It's definitely something to experience. Just like 6-7 years ago I went to see the Northern Lights, and I've mentioned that in our previous episodes, and it's just a surreal feeling of you being such a small person in this huge world that you kind of go, mate, it's definitely worth seeing.
Wow. All right.
No.
So being that you are the extreme adventurer that you are, what's next on the cards? Have you already figured out your next location?
Oh, no, I haven't actually.
I'd highly recommend Canberra.
Yeah?
Yeah,
all right.
It's amazing.
Canberra, huh? All right. I've been there, but, it's probably maybe, from a different perspective. Yeah, definitely.
They've got a big lake in the middle.
Yeah, we should talk about, like a next trip or something, man. Just, all of us, and do something cool, Maybe
an episode of planning.
There you go, episode of planning. Look, if anyone's got any questions, by all means, just shoot us a direct message, and I'm happy to answer it.
I just want to see the photos. Give me the photos.
Yeah, I'll stick some up. No stress, man.
Yeah.
Have a look. Very good fun. Yeah, it's definitely interesting stuff. So, eye-opening trip. Put it that way.
Fabulous. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Short episode.
It is a short. Well,
nice.
Short. I wouldn't say short, but it's shorter than normal. And that pretty much brings us to the end of this episode. So, look, thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
It's
definitely worthwhile talking about, I think, from a environmental point of view, from a experience point of view, and educational point of view, not just photography and videography, but just more of a generalized information. Yeah, it's definitely worthwhile knowing.
Fabulous.
All right. Thank you.
Guys. Yeah, thanks. We'll catch you
on the next episode.
Yeah.
You got any DMs? Shoot us a direct message, and happy to help out. And if you know anyone that might be, want to listen to us, share it through as well. It's really appreciated. And positive comments are always welcome. Negative ones even as well. But
I'm just used to negative comments all the time. Take care, guys. See you soon. Bye.